Good morning. Welcome to the Needling Hooker. And to all of my regular followers, welcome back, and I'm glad you could be with me once again. And to those of you that are new to the Needling Hooker, I welcome you for the first time, and hopefully this will be the first of many times that you'll be joining me. I'm Tom, for those of you that don't already know me, and today I've got a special treat for everyone. As I've been talking about for the longest time now, and as most of you already know, and you can see this based on the numbers of my episodes on the channel. I probably should have been up to episode 150 something by now, but life happens, and so I took quite a long hiatus for about a little over a year between work and trying to work on my music and things like that. So now I'm back and I'm going straight forward like a steam engine, and what better way to come back other than the previous video, which I welcomed you all into my home. Today I'm doing the first ever Needling Hooker interview with a guest fiber artist. Now I know I've talked about this before, and it's in the opening of my channel in the credits where I mentioned, what's going to be on the channel, book reviews and talking about tools and stitches and tutorials. And at the very end, you probably noticed where it says interviews with guest fiber artists. Well, that's finally happening. So today, and before we get into that, I'm going to catch you up on some things and talk about some upcoming tutorials and such. Before we go any farther on our journey today, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button so you can subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified for any upcoming videos that I do. Once they come out, you'll get a notification. And above all else, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And let me know. Is the first ever interview with a guest fiber artist here on the Needling Hooker. And I'm going to be interviewing Helene from Cabin Fever Crochet. And many of you are familiar with Cabin Fever Crochet and Helene. And some of you may never have heard of Cabin Fever or Helene. So today we're going to change that. Today we're going to welcome Helene into the home, and we're going to conduct a little interview, see what she's been up to, hear about her fiber artist journey and how she started and all of that. But before we get started, let me set down the coffee. Gotta have the coffee, it's Saturday morning. You may see on my shirt that it says, "Do not talk." Now, I don't mean do not talk. There's more to it. Let me stand up and show you. It says, "Do not talk to me, I'm knitting." So I usually will wear this out and about if I'm gonna go sit at a coffee shop and crochet or knit. I will wear this so that people don't bother me. Clever, isn't it? Anyway, so before we get started, I want to tell you a couple of things. I've got a tutorial coming up for I call it a capelet. It's not really a poncho and it's not a shawl, and it's one piece, so there's no opening in the front with buttons, what have you. I'm going to be doing an upcoming tutorial on that soon. Let me get that and show that to you. Most of you saw the still pictures of this in the previous video, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. And there it is, finished. All right, so there's going to be an upcoming tutorial for this and some other things. I've got patterns I'm designing and some works in progress to get those ironed out before I bring them to you in a tutorial. And I'm also going to be doing a review on some crochet hooks that I purchased from an online site, as well as some yarn I just got in the mail yesterday. And so once I've had a little bit of time to kind of go through those things, I will do a review on them for you and let you know where I purchased them, where you can get them. So without further ado, let's get to the matter at hand that's of most importance today. Let's go on a journey for the first ever Needling Hooker interview with a guest fiber artist. Our guest artist today is Helene of Cabin Fever Crochet. So let's welcome Helene. Hi, Helene. Welcome to the Needling Hooker.
Well, hello, Tom. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for asking. And as you know, this type of thing is not usually my cup of tea, but since it's you, of course, I said yes, and I'm honored that you asked. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and that sort of thing.
Where I'm from originally is Virginia, and spent a lot of time summers on Virginia Beach. It was a wonderful place, beautiful, Blue Ridge Mountains, her nature-based family. We did a lot of excursions and a lot of wonderful memories. So then in 1972, before my 13th birthday, as a family, we all relocated out west, California or bust. Here we come. And it was a great move. It was going on an adventure. Just kind of learned to roll with wherever life takes us. And we first wound up in Santa Monica, and then officially Santa Barbara, and then that's where I finished growing up, went to junior high and high school, and back then in the early days it was still considered a small, quaint town. After high school, and I was in cosmetology school, and I met my husband. My husband was active duty in the military, and so he got transferred, and I'm like, hey, we just got married, the heck if I'm staying behind. So I piled in, and we drove across country and visited some of his family along the way. We stayed back east for a little while, came back, lived several different places in California and even Hawaii for a stint. And then when he finished his time, and that was quite a while because he was in a number of years before we met. So after that, then we wound up back in Santa Barbara for a while, stayed there several years. And then in the late 80s, we could see it was changing, and it was really starting to grow up and develop more. And he is a country boy, and I'm a country gal at heart. So we decided it's time to go more rural, and we wound up on the central coast of California, which is a series of small rural towns, very agricultural area, and it is such a beautiful state. It truly, and it's so diverse in the people and the terrain, the climate. Where we lived on the central coast, and we were a little bit inland, but about 25 minutes through the canyon down to the coast. Because 20 minutes in either direction, something different to do, something different to see, and the smell of the ocean combined with the eucalyptus trees here, the pines there, the oaks there. But we had a good run, and for personal reasons, it was time to embark on a new adventure, and here we are, landed here, and that was in 2013, so 10-year anniversary here. So essentially we just traded an oak forest for a pine forest and went more rural. Little did we know it'd be northeastern Washington state at the time, but this is where life took us, and as places go, it's a really good one. Although I never thought I would live in snow country again, but it's a package deal. To me, I've learned life is about change, and there's oftentimes a trade-off. You give up some things to gain others, and we're really enjoying this time and having property, and we're near our daughter, which is one of the main reasons why we relocated.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, Helene, how old were you when you first learned to crochet or knit? Because I know you do both, or both if they were at different ages.
Actually, I learned to knit first, and that was from my grandmother in Maryland. She was very creative, and I guess I inherited that from her. I don't know, but I always have liked keeping my hands busy and not being idle, doing something. I've always liked sports and playing games and doing this and being outside and making things, whether it's mud pies, it didn't matter. I was the official yarn swift. That was my job for a long time when I was real little. Maybe she didn't trust me, or my sister and I with a pair of needles. I don't know. But I would hold my hands like that, and she would wind the yarn, and she would watch me, and I would just be so stiff and still like a statue. I would be so afraid my hands would slip and I would drop all that work. But I would just watch and kind of mesmerized by the whole process. So as I got a little bit older, maybe eight or nine, so when she taught me how to knit, and all I did was the knit and purl stitches. I learned to cast on, but I never actually finished a project or learned to cast off. As far as crochet, it was in junior high, in the 8th grade, my first year in California, and I still had a southern accent then. I was in home ec class, and her name was Debbie, and we were sitting next to each other in class. We all finished our projects. Class finished early. We had about 5 minutes or so left, maybe 10, and we're sitting there kind of bored, watching the clock, waiting for it to ring, and she's sitting there. She goes, "Do you know how to crochet?" "No." She goes, "Hang on a sec." She went over to the box in the back, rummaged through it, grabbed a ball of yarn, a hook, came back, sat down, and said, "Here, you do this, this, and that." She showed me how to chain, single and double crochet, had me practice a few times, and it clicked, and that was it, and that is all I've done since. Up until a few years ago, I started dabbling in knitting again, just to see if I could, what I remembered, if I enjoyed it, and how much. And so now I've got the bug a little bit, even though crochet is my true love as far as the fiber related. I did take about a 20-year hiatus with family, life, work, that type of thing. I just did not have time.
Okay. Well, so tell me, do you remember when and where you first got a serious interest in becoming a fiber artist? And was there any particular person or event that inspired you to want to become a fiber artist?
It was in high school that I found some patterns. There was no YouTube, no internet. It was just written patterns, or if you were fortunate enough to find someone who could visibly show you. So I was determined to learn how to read patterns. I started off simple practice, but it was in high school I made my first shawl for myself, one for myself and one for my friend Pat. I've just always been drawn to and appreciated handmade art of all kinds. And when we were younger growing up, there was a fantastic museum in Virginia that we used to frequent. And so I got exposed to art then. And then living in Santa Barbara, I had an older friend. The older lady, she was in her mid-30s. Can you believe that? Well, I was a teenager. Isn't everyone old when you're a teenager? I don't know. But she lived up the street, and she used to make stained glass and all types of different wares and bottles and pictures and different things. And Santa Barbara is famous downtown. Not downtown, but downtown on the beach. They have the art show, and it goes for blocks and blocks, and artisans of all types. And I was just fascinated by her work, the earthenware, jewelry making, that type of thing. And so I used to go with her from time to time on Sundays and just hang out, and I would just be so awe-inspired by the many talented people. So that gave me the bug for that element, doing venues and people being able to sell what they actually make. And it's just, one thing kind of leads to another, So it's probably my grandmother was the first person, and then that gal in junior high, and that's what really got me going.
Well, share with us, if you will, your journey as a fiber artist from when you began up until, right now, and any people or events along the way that you think might be interesting to us, and that, we'd like to learn about you.
Well, Tom, as far as becoming a fiber artist, I don't know. I just do my thing, really. I just get an idea in my head or get inspired by what someone else does or something I see out in nature. It might remind me of this or that, and I may try to replicate it or incorporate those elements into my work. I just like playing with yarn. I love playing with color. And so my journey, though, as far as that goes, it probably really started at the end of 2013 after we got here and settled and could just kind of, everybody has a story, and we've had some pretty big challenges along the way, and it was just a good time to just be. And I told my husband, I'm going to get back into crochet. I think I really want to. And now that I have the time and the ability to just be in my own head for a while, I think that's doable.
Really awesome. That's really amazing. Tell me, how did you discover YouTube, and maybe a little bit about your YouTube discovery?
I don't even know how I discovered YouTube. I didn't even know it existed before then. Never even heard of it. And I'd been on the internet, but I was just caught up with work and life. And I discovered YouTube. And I have some pattern books, and I brought out some old patterns, but then, ta-da, the wonderful world of YouTube. So I started watching different YouTubers, and my friend Jay of Jay's Knit and Pearl Jam, she was one of the first that popped up, and then I started watching, and I learned so much about her from her, and I love her format and how she designs both knit and crochet. And then I started over the years really looking at garments. And for me, it's not so much, oh, this is named by so-and-so. For me, it's not the label. It's about their workmanship, the quality of the materials and the designs and the structure, the construction of it, the schematics, how it all comes together to help follow the lines of the body. Because if something is well made, it lasts a long time. And so I wanted to transfer that into pieces that I make. So how I can get them to be well fitting for my body, and then make an easy enough way to then share that with other people, so then they can customize to fit their body and to their own taste too. And that's why I said I like keeping my options open. I like different options, and I like to share that as well.
Helene, is there anyone special on YouTube? Who are your top 3 favorite YouTube fiber artists that you enjoy following?
So you mean besides myself? I'm just kidding. Really. Here, have a croissant. Have 2. Please stay. I look at it this way. I will say this, that there are so many incredibly gifted, talented, creative people on YouTube. It blows my mind. In all different types of arts. It's just amazing. Every time I pop on, it just seems like it leads me to one thing down another. I could easily go down that rabbit hole and be into so many different types of crafts. But, as far as the yarny fiber thing goes, I really cannot possibly narrow it down to just 3, because if I did, then I'd be like, oh, but then this person, she or he does that, and that is so amazing. And then this person over here, that is so unique and so different. And this person's got that little quirky thing going on, and I love that too, because it is so different. And that's the thing. Everyone is individual, has something to bring, and is special in their own right. And yes, there are just so many wonderfully talented people, and I appreciate all of them, because I have learned so much, and I have been inspired by so many.
I know, everybody has a favorite stitch, a favorite technique that they prefer. What are some of your favorite stitches that you like to use when you're designing a
I love
project?
cluster stitches, clusters and cross stitches. Clusters I can do so much with. They're very versatile. They're a lot easier on my joints, my wrist, less kind of torquing and twisting than say other type of stitches in that realm like a puff and popcorn, which I love the look. They're just harder for me to manipulate. And clusters are so versatile because you can add more or less to them. They work well incorporated into the pattern as a border, trim on just about anything. And I just have fun playing with them. And cross stitches the same. And they can stand alone or can add more chains in between with on the next row coming back, then use that section to add stitches into. Take a look at my daydream shawl. I've incorporated cross stitches into that. And you can do cables with cross stitches. Isn't that essentially what they are? You know, you do a few, say, double crochets, and then you skip over several and then work your way back. So I think those are really versatile too.
Is there any one particular thing that you really, above anything else, enjoy designing when you're sitting down to design and create a project?
Shawls. That always has been and probably always will be. But I love making hats also as well. And as far as designing, besides shawls, I've been getting into garments more and just working on honing my skills with that.
I have to agree. Shawls have become one of my go-tos for the last few years. Shawls and ponchos. And I think shawls, because they're universal now, they're not just worn by women, guys are wearing them too. And they can become quite the fashion statement. So yeah, I think that's a good design choice. I really think that one can be even more so creative with a poncho, with a shawl than say a hat or a scarf. I mean, you can only do so much with a hat or a scarf per se. Well, hats maybe not, because there's beanies and other types of hats, but I think that if you're doing a shawl, you can really get creative and inner work some multiples of different stitches and just create a whole the gamut. It just, I mean, just create something that's like so out there and original and what have you. And I have to say, I've seen some of your shawls and they're absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I mean, some of them I think you've done tutorials on, and others maybe yet to come. But I really think you do beautiful work with your shawls. All the other things too that you've designed, but I do love your shawls quite a bit. Don't mind me, I've got my coffee, and I know you've got your tea, and I see that delicious looking croissants. Of course, you always set something yummy out on your table. So when we're done, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to make my way there, and I'm going to break croissants with you. Anyway, that being said, do you have any events that you've attended, whether local or maybe that you've
Well,
traveled
I
to?
mentioned I got the bug with my friend back in the early Santa Barbara days when I was in high school, and I went to the art show with her, so I got the bug then. And years ago, when I lived on the Central Coast, I did a couple of farmers markets, one more inland, where it's more wine country, and then one at the coast. That was fun too, although it was only jewelry then. So since I got back into crochet, I combined the two, and I have done farmers market up in town, Chihuahua. I am scaling back. I'm still on the fence how much. I was even undecided if I was going to do it at all this year, but I'd like to at least go. And it's fun. It's a small town, beautiful place, got that Norman Rockwell, very family friendly atmosphere. It's lovely, and the setting is in the little park, and with the creek that runneth right behind us and a little walk bridge. So fun because we have different events too. We have a 4th of July with the colored guards, and the mayor comes and he speaks, and that's a lovely event. And they have the cherry splat to see how far they used to spit, but now I think they do a slingshot. And for adults and children, there's pie eating contests. We have in the summer a zucchini boat race where the kids will carve their zucchinis, and they have to make them a boat that floats. They put little sails and then they float them down the creek, and they have races and they win prizes. And there's also a pumpkin bowling contest in the fall. So it's a wonderful event. All the people that come to the market and vendors alike, it's like a little family, and I enjoy that. I think I would really miss it if I don't go at least maybe once or twice a month. There are many artists guilds and fiber artists around, and I meet them at the market, which is a fun thing because I do have the jewelry as well, but the crochet starts a conversation. It's like, oh, they'll say, oh, I crochet, or I knit. So I like having conversations, find out, oh, what's your favorite thing to make? There are a lot of spinners up here and even some hand dyers. And I've been invited to some of their community events where they get together and everybody just brings their fiber arts they're working on.
All right. Well, what future plans and goals lie in store for you as you continue on your wonderful fiber artist journey?
I always have a lot of ideas, things I really want to do. And it is just a matter of time. Life happens, things come up. I have to shift gears a little bit. So I call them soft goals because I keep notes for myself, check things off as I do them, but I don't want to put real hard kind of pressure, as I have enough things that can be stress producing at times, that this is a fun, relaxing, calming, meditative type of craft for me, and that's how I want to keep it. But as far as short and long term, I have PIPs, I call them patterns in progress, that I started a year or two ago. I really want to finish up. I think they're going to be fun. They're garments. If it's fresh in your mind, it's so easy. It's much easier to go back to it versus setting it aside for a period of time and then picking up, especially if you design or write your own patterns, make notes, and then just, oh, what was I doing? Maybe I wasn't as organized as I like to be or should have been at that time. So it's almost akin to starting over to some degree. But that is my goal for that. And I have some earlier tutorials, a couple of summer hats that I want to redo because those videos are way overly long, like this one. And this one is still up. There's another one that I took down recently because that is my short-term goal this summer, maybe June. June is my goal, so hopefully look for it around that time. Really cute hat for the summer. As far as designing, just to keep learning and growing and honing my skills and bringing more fun and hopefully unique and interesting tutorials in design.
Well, pips. I've never heard that one before. Oh, okay, so there's a new one to add to our fiber artist vocabulary, right? Whips, pips, and FOs. Okay, people, join us for more whips, pips, and FOs. Okay, I'm stealing that, Helene. No, I'm just kidding. I love that, pips. Anyway, do you have any whips or FOs that you'd like to share with us? And for those of you just joining us that don't know what those are, no, it's not whips like you whip a horse going down a trail. Whips is work in progress, and FOs are finished objects. So tell us, Helene, whips, finished objects? What you
Do
got?
I have any whips? Oh boy, do I whips, pips, and otherwise. Too many. Oh, that is another thing. I went through them recently. Some are hats that I started last year that I'm going to finish for the market, so that's kind of a given. And patterns I started, I did not bring those out because I want them to be a surprise. Kind of brings me back to one of your earlier questions about what I like is designing. That it just came to me is I really enjoy trying to figure different things out, learning something new, experimenting. Well, what if I do this? What's going to happen? How's that going to work? Or if I take this stitch and I do XYZ with it instead, it's kind of like going for a drive where I just go, where does this road take me? And sometimes I will learn new things when I explore and branch out outside of my little box and just kind of go where it takes me. And maybe I learn a new direction, a new way of going or doing things. Sometimes doesn't work out, have to turn around and come back and start all over again. And that, I think that's just the nature with pretty much anything. You know, if you let yourself just kind of go in a different direction sometimes and try something new, I am surprised by even my own self what I learned sometimes. Like, wow, that came from my little old brain. I don't know how I even did that. Ooh, better quick write notes and take some pictures before I forget. Well, I guess this wraps it up then, huh, Tom? That was fun, and it was really kind of a walk down memory lane for me. Things I hadn't thought about in a long time that really brings a smile to my face and my heart. The crocheting marathon granny squares at the laundromat, the art show, all those early days, and then the life's journey up to this point too.
I want to thank you very much for joining me today.
I appreciate your time being here, and for you, all the hard work you put into this, putting it all together. All right, well, take good care. God willing, I will see you again soon. Cheers, and bye for now.
Everyone out there thoroughly enjoyed getting to hear and learn a little bit about you and Cabin Fever Crochet. And I look forward to your next video. Always do. And maybe we'll get together again for a little chat. And I just want to wish you well. And again, thank you for coming on and being my guest today. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. I want to thank each and every one of you. Again, my regular followers, thank you for coming back to join me for this. And for new viewers out there, I want to say thank you very much. Oh, and again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and go ahead and give the video the thumbs up, the like button, so that tells me that you want to see more content like that. And hit the bell icon so that you will be notified for future videos that I do, like this or any of the other tutorials and book reviews and stuff.